really, this is a meet and greet. It really is, with the intent is to have a longer conversation. So, like I said, I have a PowerPoint here, you guys, because what's a meeting without one? I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get going. All right, here we go. Can everybody see it?
Yes, it's coming up. There we go.
Okay, fantastic. And like I said, this is a very high level overview. What we're going to talk about is, again, USDA, Farm Production and Conservation, or FPAC, and that's my area of coverage. And then touch on USDA overall, and then kind of go into how we look for small businesses to help meet our needs. So without further ado, let's get going. Okay, so I'm over Farm Production and Conservation, or FPAC, and you guys have been around enough to know that we like our acronyms, but we're the focal point for nation's farmers and ranchers and other stewards of private agricultural lands, non-industrial private forest lands as well. And what we do is we implement programs designed to mitigate the significant risks of farming through crop insurance services, conservation programs, technical assistance, commodities, and lending and disaster programs. So under Farm Production and Conservation, again, FPAC, we have Farm Service Agency, and they do credit and loan programs, and they manage conservation, again, disaster and farm marketing programs through nationwide offices. And Natural Resource and Conservation also has nationwide offices. And in fact, we're co-located in most of the counties across the country. Risk Management Agency is regional, and they're more into insurance and co-insurance and reinsurance for commodities and other agricultural type goods. So this is a real quick look at our acquisitions division within Farm Production and Conservation. We have 4 sections on our operation branch, and that's where our contracting officers and our contract specialists perform the acquisition process. Section 1 is the Midwest. Section 2 is in Washington, well, they're located in Kansas City. Section 2 is Washington, D.C., and they handle all of our enterprise type procurement. Section 3 is located in Fort Worth, Texas, and they handle the West Coast and anything construction related. And I know several of you will be interested in that. And then our 4th section is located in Raleigh, North Carolina, and they handle the East Coast with the exception of Washington, D.C. I reside in the policy and oversight and accountability. Those are reversed. I have to fix that. Anyway, this is where our micro purchase program lives, as well as any kind of policy and compliance work happens. So USDA, it's made up of 29 agencies. I cover FPAC. So there are other small business specialists that cover the other regions, and we're going to get into those here in a minute. But we're about 100,000 strong. We'll never be fully staffed, and that's where sometimes we have contractor support to help fill those positions as well. It's 4,500 locations, give or take. Each year we move some, we consolidate, but we are in every state, every outlying region, as well as every county, and we are very rurally located with Farm Service Agency and Natural Resource and Conservation Services. So other agencies, and we're not going to go into these. I would like to make this available to you all later on. But we're going to find that like Food, Nutrition, and Consumer Services, they have, as you can see here, the Center for Nutrition Policy and Promotion, CNPP, and Food Nutritious Services. That's where the SNAP program lives and stuff like that. We all want safe food, so we have our food safety. That's Food Safety and Inspection Services, as well as the Foreign Agriculture Service. Now, we do support the Foreign Agricultural Service, or FAS, because that's a mouthful, on a fairly regular basis, but they don't fall under FPAC. And we have our marketing and regulatory programs. Agricultural marketing services ships commodities all over the world. And most of it's through prime contractors such as Kellogg's and stuff like that. But there are subcontracting opportunities in the trucking business with AMS. Animal Plant Health Inspection Services, or APHIS. they do exactly what their title says. And they do a lot of support for foreign agriculture service that we saw on the previous screen. Then we have grain inspectors, packers, and stockyard administration, or GIPSA. So, and that they do exactly what the title says. Okay, then there's natural resources and environment and forest service. Between Forest Service and FPAC, we have the largest budgets within USDA because we touch so many things and we overlap. We hear about Forest Service all the time with the wildfires out on the West Coast. We do a lot of support with Forest Services as well. Okay, research, education, and economics. That's Agricultural Research Service. And they have a really neat website where you can go and learn more about agriculture. It's all about, teaching everybody what we do and how agriculture impacts our lives. The Economic Research Service, and that's Principal Social Science Research Agency. Now, I don't have a lot of contact with these other agencies, but I do know who to put you in contact with, just as a side note there. National Agricultural Statistics Service, or NAS, and they gather data on agricultural and rural information, and they report it back, and they try to come up with some kind of, some objective information that can kind of steer future programs. Again, research, education, and economics. We have NIFA under there. And they do a lot of that education as well as ARS. So that's a good place to go if you want to learn about agriculture or teach things about agriculture. And they also house the library that's right below there. Rural development. There are a whole lot of things coming out of USDA to develop rural communities. And a big spearhead of this is rural development and farm service agencies. So to intertwine, they work to bring, I know it's a big push to put infrastructure out there. So they're bringing internet services and other kind of infrastructure out to rural areas. And this is just a link to all those, so you can take a look. Okay, so doing business with us. This is my favorite part. We don't have any FY 2022 goals yet for our overall small business. This is negotiated between USDA's Office of Small Disadvantaged Business Utilization, or OSTBU. So they negotiate every year with the Small Business Administration to come up with our overall goal. So we don't know, right? Last year was 49.5%. This year we don't know. I imagine it's going to go up. Hopefully we get over this COVID hump and we can raise those up again. The reason why it's 49.5% is because the government's overall small business goal is currently 23%. So we have higher goals, so we can help offset some of the DoD and the research type things like NASA that only the big juggernauts can respond to. So we have 49.5%, so we can offset all their awards to Booz Allen and Lockheed Martin and those kind of things. Congress has set the rest of these. Currently, it's small disadvantaged business, where the 8A lives, is 5%. Women-owned small business is also 5%. Service disabled veteran-owned small businesses is 3%, and HUBZone is 3%. These have not historically changed because they do require Congress. However, the national, the NDAA, the National Defense Appropriation Act, there is some information in there that if it passes both houses, is passed Congress, will raise the SDB up to 15% by 2025. Women-owned small business will increase to 7% by 2023. SDV, OSB, and HUB zones would immediately raise to 4% if it passes. So right now, this is just, that's where the direction we're going. We'll have to see if it passes the Senate. And all of these blue, they are hyperlinked. So when I share this, you'll be able to go right to those different areas to get the information or look further if you want to. And here again is another link. We'll just skip that and keep going. So how do we find our small vendors? There's a lot of different ways, and it depends on, forgive me for that, depends on what the opportunity is. If you see a source of sought out there for something that you can do, please, as a small business, respond. While we passed and exceeded all of our goals for last year, we had several opportunities come through that I had to allow to go full and open because they did a source of sought and nobody responded. This is really for small business to respond and say, hey, I can do that work. So source of sought, it's very important for small businesses to respond to. And I know it costs money with time and manpower, so you have to be careful about what you respond to. But if you can, please respond. We use knowledgeable individuals within government and industry. So case point, we do within Natural Resource and Conservation Service, we do construction. It's mostly horizontal construction, but it can be any kind of construction. We often reach out to Corps of Engineers for sources in certain areas because we know the Corps of Engineers is out there in all of America doing construction. So we will reach out to them or something similar. We'll review results of recent market research for similar same requirements, kind of like we'd reach out to the Corps of Engineers. We'd reach out to R&D if we know that we have something going on in an area they've worked in and we're looking for sources. Requests for information. They're very different from a source of sought, and I know people use them interchangeably. A source of sought is just looking for small businesses. A request for information is looking for how does commercial entities respond to a certain requirement. So not only are we, so we don't have all of the answers, and we're reaching out to you to say, how would you do this? And so while they in the end may accomplish the same, sometimes RFIs don't go further. If we find out that with the responses we get from an RFI that we can't pursue it any further, or we have to step back and reassess the original government direction. So we might think we know everything, but we don't. We rely very heavily on the commercial market to help us sometimes shape our requirements. There is an interagency contract directory and other databases. We participate in communications with industry, contracting, and customers, kind of like we're doing today. We can look at source lists. Of course, we Google like crazy, but we're looking up trade associations and other resources on the internet. And, I mean, once upon a time, it was all, I used to get stacks and stacks of catalogs. Now I can just go to the internet. So my desk is clear, but I can still have access to the same information. Source lists. Again, that comes from agencies that are doing similar work, or trade associations. We rely very heavily on the commercial market. Kind of like I just mentioned, we do have catalogs and stuff like that, but they're now usually on the internet. And with some more complex type opportunities, we hold pre-solicitation conferences. Again, we think we know what we want, but we need your assistance in helping us truly define and hone what we need. Okay, and some more sources. Online consumer reports, existing contract files. We kind of alluded to that before when we look at something that's been done in the past. We do use GSA, so GSA Federal Supply Schedules, GSA eLibrary, NASA SOUP, brochures and literature. Again, these are just kind of broken out from the previous screen. And then folks such as ourselves. And our OSTBU, and I don't think I said that. Our OSTBU, or Office of Small Disadvantaged Business Utilization, that's over all of USDA. So they're responsible for making sure and driving the small business mission within all of USDA. So we report up to them as a small business specialist within the individual agencies. The PCRs, they're at Small Business Administration, and we rely on them and their counterpart, which is the Business Opportunity Specialist, to sometimes find small businesses when we can't find them using any of these other things. And if you're not familiar, your Association of Procurement Technical Assistance Centers are crucial for small businesses. They can help you navigate your business plan, creating a business plan, how to find opportunities on sam.gov, can make some recommendations as far as, teaming and making those other small business relationships so that you can more leverage your existence within the federal community. And then there's a vet biz, which is mainly used by Veterans Administration, but we can have access to it as well. And these are just hot links for anything USDA wide. You can go to the Office of Small Disadvantaged Business Utilization. There's a list of all our forecasts out there, a list of all the small business specialists. Like I said, I'm for FPAC, but there's other small business specialists for those other areas we covered briefly. We don't have any USDA vendor outreach right now. Thank you, COVID. But usually every other month or so, in Washington, DC, they have outreach sessions. The Rural Small Business Connection event that's coming up. And then there's contact information. So those are all hot links that I provided for you. And I'm sorry, I'm looking over here because it's a bigger screen and I have old eyes. So I hope my profile's okay. So again, these are some other hot links you can go to. USDA procurement and USDA management. At those areas, you can find out a little bit more about doing work with us. The OSTBU also has information on doing work with USDA. Your Small Business Administration, leverage your folks. I'm telling you, the PTACs, they are already federally funded. So it's at no cost to you. The Small Business Administration, while I think they're probably, last I heard, about 65% staffed, they're there to assist you as well. GSA Advantage, that's where we go out there for a lot of our commodities, our pens and pencils, anything that's office related. And again, I want to stress that PTAC for you. So that's it. I love presenting, not really. But I just want to kind of point out that we do construction and architecture and engineer services. NRCS has the easement program. All the agencies, and that's every agency, and that's not exclusive to USDA, uses professional and administrative support services. We do have USDA-wide contracts currently in place for office equipment like copiers, printers, that kind of thing. And since we're all remote, who's using them? But we have something in place now, but that's going to come up on a fairly regular basis. Every 5 years, they're going to recompete that. NRCS does engineering and soil equipment, and all of us use IT equipment and services.